What's up, guys? We are back with another Mythic Legions Deluxe Legion Builder review, and just like with the Skeleton Legion Builder, you know, my order still isn't here, and my impatience is, well, where it's always at. So I went ahead and got another one, and I got him for a really good price. So I'm not at all unhappy with, you know, getting a couple extras a little bit early for me, but I got a Goblin, so Skeleton, Goblin, I kind of got to go for the ones that matter most to me, and I'm really excited to take a look at this little guy because of this new head sculpt that he's sporting. It looks pretty wild. Now, as far as packaging, you know, it's a Mythic Legions figure, and if you saw the Deluxe Skeleton figure, you know exactly what's going on here. So figure in the window, in the tray, you've got his Arethyr faction card on one side, you've got not a bio, but a product shot on the other because it's a Legion Builder, and then the back of the box gives us the cross sell for this Deluxe Legion Builder wave, as well as our kind of write-up of Mythos, as well as some of that newer artwork that is themed to this particular line. So let's do it. Let's pull this little guy out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package. This is our Deluxe Goblin Legion Builder, and this guy is pretty interesting because depending on what you're truly after here, this is a dwarf. Like, this is legitimately a dwarf with a goblin head on it. So very similar to what they did with Gonks back in, I say it like it was forever ago, it wasn't that long ago, but back when they did Gonks in the Advent of Decay wave, a goblin with a dwarf body, or a dwarf body with a goblin head. So this is a more beefy goblin, but it's still, you know, just a dwarf, really. And it is quite literally just like the base body that we usually would have gotten for dwarf Legion builders way back when. So there's not anything that's truly new here outside of the head. And the head is the one area where I definitely have, I don't know if I have concerns, but I am very interested to maybe understand what the design reasoning was behind making this helmet such a different color from the rest of the armor. So we'll get into that, I suppose, but let's get started, see what this guy can do, see how it moves around. This is a 1.0 figure, despite being a smaller figure, you know, being a goblin. It's a 1.0 figure, so, you know, just assuming you're not familiar, this is the kind of body that has no articulation at the diaphragm. It's also, you know, a stockier figure too. So we've got a head that can look up really, really good. He can't really look down too much, just a little bit slightly. A little bit of tilt. You got full rotation, of course. Arms are going to go out at the shoulders. They rotate. We've got our single jointed rotating elbow. You've got swiveling forearms, you know, because of the gauntlet setup. You've got hinges, rotation at the wrist. We've got our single buck torso, so backwards, forwards, tilt side to side a little bit, and then you've got full rotation in there. It's just a big ball peg. Legs out all the way, really good movement there, and then we've got kick forward all the way. You can also kick backwards a slight bit as well. You've got your thigh cut up there. We've got our single jointed rotating knee, and then down at the ankle, you've got rotation at the joint itself. You've got really, really good rocker, always good rocker down there, and then you've got a really nice hinge also. So still really good articulation, though, very much the norm, the absolute norm when it comes to Mythic Legions. When it comes to a 1.0 figure, you've got basically everything you would expect to get out of this line. The only real difference is that this guy just happens to be a little bit shorter. Now, as far as the overall look and feel here, this is, of course, the area where I guess, again, I don't think it's a concern. It's a curiosity. I neither like nor dislike this helmet situation, I think. The figure, and we'll get to that, the figure, though, is again, it's a dwarf. It's a fully armored, stocky, small, you know, body. So if you've got Gonks from Advent of Decay, it's the same kind of situation. That's, you know, that's my reference point here. This is like Gonks with a different head sculpt, and of course, a very dumbed down suit of armor. Again, a Legion builder, so when it comes to paint applications, they are very few and far between. And this guy, I mean, he's literally just this sort of metallic-y, gunmetal sort of color. It's basically the same kind of color that we got with the Skeleton Legion Builder that I've already taken a look at. The only real shaka color is the loincloth, which, while it has some color, it's brown, it is devoid of any actual detail. So the leather straps and like the little, you know, circlets on it, they're not painted. So if you wanted to take the time to do that, you could do that. I am very tempted with these Deluxe Legion Builders to actually try my hand at painting some of these smaller details. You can probably just mark it right here that I'll probably never do that. But I am really curious to try, because some of these figures I think do need a little bit of a pop of color. This guy in particular is just this gray void. And the sculpt is tremendous, you know, as always. The sculpt is great. all of those inlay details. You know, this is armor. These are pieces that I've seen for what, 5 years now or whatever. So this isn't anything new to me. It's all very familiar, but I still love this sculpt. The detail is always there. He's a squat, stocky little goblin, which I really do like. Gonks is still my favorite goblin when it comes to Mythic Legions. Maybe until I get my swig, however long from now that's going to take. But Gonks has always been my favorite. The big, like, heavy bruiser goblin was always kind of a cool idea, especially since the majority of the goblins in this line are, really thin and wispy. This guy is a more, heavy hitter, bruiser type of guy, so he'll add a little bit of bulk to your goblin setup. And then, of course, if you want to cannibalize this guy for parts, you can certainly do that because you've got all the makings of a dwarf. If you've got heads lying around, just pop a head and a neck on, because he's got a goblin neck in there too, or paint it if you wanted to, and then you can do that. Now, he is, of course, capped off with this head. And I will say right off the bat, I love the actual head and face sculpt. This head in particular screams like, Labyrinth goblins to me. So, David Bowie, Labyrinth, that kind of stuff. Like this underbite that he has, I really like it. This super wide set eyes and just those jagged teeth sticking out. I think they look tremendous. And that green really does come across as very striking against this, sort of void of gray. But I'm still really, really unsure of how I feel about this helmet because it is just such a different color. In some of the promo pics, it seemed fine. Like it looked almost shiny gray or silver almost, and it's not really that. It's like a flat gray here with these horns, and it's just so different. I just don't know that I like it. It seems like it should have still been the same color as the rest of the armor, just like, say, the Skeleton Legion builder. He basically is the same color as this guy, and his helmet's the same color too. So I'm curious why they went this route. I like the design. I love the horns. They're not removable. Very much we usually get removable horns when a head does have them. That's not the case here. So I'm kind of like a 50-50 on this one. I really like the face. I love the paint applications, the sculpt of that head, the mouth, all of it. The sculpt of the helmet looks great, but I just don't know that I like this helmet color. It just seems to stick out a little bit too much just for me. Otherwise, it's still a really cool looking design. And granted, you can throw it on a different body if you wanted to change it up or paint it or whatever you're going to do. So in general, the sculpt is always there. The details are always there. I just don't know about that color personally. Now, as far as accessories goes, this guy does have quite a spread. Like, I really like, well, everything he comes with. All the stuff here is great as far as actual weaponry goes. And then, of course, you get the ever-present pauldrons, and these are kind of like standard boilerplate knight-style pauldrons. So again, more stuff that we've seen a million times, but done up in this sort of metallic-y, swirly gunmetal color, and it really helps to beef this kind of character up. Similar, I'm going to use him as a reference. Gonks, without his pauldrons, he looks really, really weird, I think. I've always kind of thought that, but just like this guy, when you put the pauldrons on him, he looks a lot more intimidating, a little more rough and tumble, and he definitely looks a little bit bulkier. He certainly looks, like he's a goblin you wouldn't want to mess with. Now, as far as quote-unquote actual accessories, weaponry, stuff like that, we get the ever-present strap because, well, it's Legions, you gotta have a strap. Everybody needs a strap. Everybody needs 1,000 straps. We get the sort of knuckle duster, jagged blade, and all of his weaponry is done up in this, like, forest metallic green, which is definitely kind of an odd color for the line in general. I kind of like it. I love getting weapons that we've already got in new colorways. And I know we've got greens in the line across the board, but this one seems a little bit different. So you've got everything done up in this green color. There's no painted accents or anything, so if you wanted to do that, you've got the ability here. But this is that sort of, jagged branch with the knuckle duster on it, with the jagged saw blade. Really love this one. We get the big sort of crescent sickle type of weapons that combine. Again, these done up in that same green, and you can have it, sort of spin it and have, one blade on one side, one blade on the other. It's humongous, especially for this guy, but he does look pretty good holding it. And then, of course, you could always have him dual wielding. And then we also get the sort of like turtle shell shield, which I am a huge fan of this. I love getting this. This is one of my favorite accessories in the line. I love getting this shield just because it's so different. And this colorway on it really works. It pops. It makes it stand out. And he can, of course, hold this or you can sort of wedge it back between the pauldrons to have it as like another storage for the shield, shell, whatever you want to call it, or to look like another piece of his armor. So this little guy does have a lot of cool stuff. Like even just for a Legion builder, this is a lot of weaponry and a lot of varied stuff too. So I think it does really bulk him up and beef him up a little bit to make him certainly seem like a little bit more of a value too. So yeah, overall solid little figure. Again, he's, for the 15th time probably, he's a dwarf with a goblin neck and head. So kind of go into it knowing what you're getting here. But this is a Legion builder, and this is exactly what it's supposed to be. It's just to beef up your ranks and to give you some fodder for, your horde or your squadrons or your armies or whatever you're going to do with them. This guy's going to fill that role really well. The only thing I'm personally not a fan of, and it's just a personal thing, it looks fine, is the helmet color. I just don't think it looks all that great compared to the rest of the body. Something about that super, super bright gray compared to this super dark gray just seems off to me, like almost like it's a mistake. I'm assuming it's not at this point because it's always been this color. It's not necessarily a surprise that it's this color, but in person, I kind of wish it would have been a little bit darker. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, the sculpt is great. I mean, it's all the same level of detail that you come to expect from the Horseman, and if you want to paint him up, you can easily do that, and he also comes with a really solid array of accessories with some of my favorite stuff in the entire line crammed into this package. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mythic Legions Deluxe Legion Builder Goblin. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.